People are out there getting ready for their lunch.
Somebody who calls themselves mid-NHL GM, man, it's hard to listen to 93.7 The Fan, I'll just say poop on Pickett like this. The kid is 12-6 when playing the entire game with 7 game-winning drives. I think some of these guys would rather him be 2-16 but throws for 300 yards every game. Pathetic mindset. Starkey, Pomp, Cole.
Pathetic.
I was left off.
You were.
Yeah, you were. What are these people watching? Like, I give Kenny Pickett credit for winning games in the fourth quarter. He also sounds like he's the type who thinks because we work for the Fan and he played for Pitt, we're just supposed to say he's great. I mean, what? Yeah. Look at first of all, watch the games. Second, look at some of the numbers that Kenny Pickett is putting out there. Third, look at what people are saying around the league about this offense and about him. No, he doesn't stink. And yes, he deserves more of a chance.
I think we've credited the fact that he's a fourth quarter phenom.
It's a
he's
great
the best.
trait.
Yeah.
It's a great trait to have.
But you can't do it against good teams.
I don't think it's sustainable.
But if you're sold on Kenny Pickett or you think the criticism is unfair, I have no idea what you're looking at. It's not one or the other. He stinks, get him out of the league, or wow, is Kenny Pickett great so far? It's somewhere very, very much in between. So for people to jump to his defense as if he's being just absolutely torn to shreds is not the case. It's just flat out not the case. Sometimes I wonder what people are listening to.
And maybe what they're watching.
Yes.
Well, it goes on both sides, though. If we compliment him too much, it's, oh, you guys are so fooled by Kenny Pickett. He's not very good, and blah, blah, blah.
I think it's a fair assessment to say what's happened, in that he's not been good in the first 3 quarters of games, and he turns it on, and it's a good quality to have. To come out and win games late in games. That's a great quality to have.
So far.
But you don't want to be in that situation a lot because it's risky.
And because you're the one who helped put them there.
Yeah, it's your poor play early has helped dig the hole.
So you'll get a Tebow where it turns out, that wasn't sustainable, and then you'll have really good quarterbacks who, that was a trait they showed early, and it turned out they were good. Anybody who to me, this is pretty easy to analyze Kenny Pickett's career so far. Right now, it looks like a questionable pick by the Steelers, and there's a lot left for him to prove, although he's shown some good traits. Is that fair?
That's a very fair assessment.
I still think his potential is really good, and I want to see more of it. That's all. I want to see it early in games.
Here's some people who don't. One is Dan Patrick, who says that Mike Tomlin and a great defense are basically camouflaging his inadequacies. That's what he said. Here's a headline from Steeler Depot. Inconsistent Kenny Pickett consistently, quote, saved by a Hall of Fame coach and a great defense. Here's what Colin Cowherd said on the air the other day.
Big Ben's last 7-8 years, fairy tale. Nobody bought it except you. And nobody thinks Kenny Pickett's got the arm, the juice, nobody, because he doesn't. He was a third-round pick. They reached on because they were desperate at quarterback because Big Ben scared them every time they considered drafting his heir apparent. And so they're left with a nice kid, a local kid, who's a B- at mostly everything. He moves okay. His arm's okay. Not that accurate. Certainly not close to a Joe Burrow. And that's who you got to face in the AFC.
Fair?
Well, he's not close to Joe Burrow. The last part I would agree with totally.
What about his general point?
That he's B-
A third-round pick that they reached for because he's a local kid and he's B- in everything he does.
I can't argue with that at this point. I'm not quite ready to say stamp it as official, done.
Neither am I.
I can't argue with that point to this.
There's too much.
This point to that. Whatever. You know what the hell I mean.
He's done in critical moments that make me encouraged that he can do it, and they take it to a different level. But he has to show that. That's all. And I think that's the fair way to look at it. Right now, what would I give him as a grade? Well, if you're out to win games, clutch games, I'd give him probably an A-. But part of the entire game, 60-minute game, it would be a C. But he's raised the level of play when they needed to raise it. They were in games because of that defense, and that's fine. Except when you play Cincinnati twice more, when you play some of the elite teams, you're going to have to – you can't dig a hole this way and expect to come out of it.
I think I agree with pretty much everything Cowherd had to say right there, other than the whole it factor thing, because I think you've got to have some of that if you are in the fourth quarter with the game on the line multiple times already. in your young career, and you've come through almost every single time. That's showing some it factor.
Yeah,
but
it factor there's more it factor than any other factor,
yes.
I think, at this point.
So that's the one thing that
right.
I will
and when you
mince
say
words
that,
about.
when you say that, people out there filter that through. Well, boy, Bob is really ripping Kenny Pickett. You know what I mean?
I'm not.
That's what and I know you're not. I know you're not. That's the filter through which they see and hear legitimate criticism of Pickett. I mean, it's legit.
I mean, the whole B- thing, it's hard to argue that. I mean, yeah, the physical traits don't blow you away. And they haven't yet. And I don't know if they ever will. But can you still win games with him? I mean, he's shown that you can. And by the ugliest of natures, and I don't know if it's really sustainable moving forward either. I mean, it's right to question that.
I do agree with you that the one thing that I would pick from Coward that I disagree with is if anything, Pickett has shown some of that it factor.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's keeping him afloat here.
Yeah, especially in those quote weighty downs. He's good at them later in games.
What about Dan Patrick? Inconsistent Pickett saved by Hall of Fame coach and great defense.
I think that the defense is the reason they're 5-3. I don't think the offense. I mean, to me, the defense has basically won 3 of their 5 wins. So I'm going to give them a lot of credit more than the offense and Pickett.
Yeah, I mean, but again, you can't take the ball over all the time in every game. There are going to be games when your defense gets beat up. And you have to be willing and able to do the stuff early in the game so that they can at least get a little bit of a break here and there and not have to rely on these big plays and big sacks at critical times. So it's still, you're 8 games into this. They got 9 left. A lot will be told in the next 9 games. And you'll have better understanding of where they are. But I suspect my record was 10-7. I'm going to be right on with that.